Usually we'd teach some kung fu, like we would maybe teach something like, keep your elbow in tight. This would be like Wing Chun. Keep your elbow in tight, use the weight of your forearm, and use this part of the hand, not a slap, but like this here, the weight, boom, here like this. Then maybe a nice JKD straight lead, maybe a curved one here, and then like a Canelo hook and like an uppercut. We would teach like stuff like that on the bag or whatever, but with the accident and everything like that, like I don't want to mess up my neck worse, so we got to stick to just pure astronomy and physics. Today I was thinking about power. If you were near a black hole, you'd weigh 500 billion times your weight. Even if you crash into the sun, you'd weigh 28 times your weight. So it begins to be the question, if you think of the gravitron ride and centrifugal force, or you're sticking to the wall because your inertia is sending you this way, but it's turning you. Or you think of centripetal force, like with a black hole, like a photon sphere, where the photons are fighting the pull of the event. Really, it all boils down to subatomic particles, because at the end of the day, we're going to rip atoms apart with this thing anyways. They're going to melt. So you're going to need to get into quantum mechanics at that point. At that point, it gets complicated, because you have right and left hand particles, okay? Which not always, because right-handed neutrinos don't exist. Then you have like photons banging off electrons and electromagnetism, right? We're going to go deeper and deeper. You have chromo, which we're going to get into, like how gluons and quarks compete and use virtual photons, the force feeders of the fundamental forces. And then you're going to get a little deeper. We're going to get into electroweak theory and like the Higgs, how the Higgs presents a 1% rest mass, and that was like the grappling hook. And then you have probability, amplitudes, waves, peaks and troughs, and frequencies. Because as you get smaller and smaller, you realize that, oh my God, this thing is a series of competing waves. Whoa, right? So you go deeper and you find that like quarks are moving around at light speed, and they have a color charge. They're red, blue, and green, and that makes them white and makes them nice and ripe for an electron to hop on. But it's crazy, because then they also have spin, and which you have to calculate. They have angular momentum, and they have electric charge. And as you know, with neutrons are neutrally electric. Anytime you see the word neut, just think no charge. You know what I mean? Because when you get into decays and like particle-antiparticle pairs and all that kind of thing, this is where subatomic particles become important, because you're always switching from matter to energy, and it's always conserved. So they have mathematical means of figuring out why this particle releases this particle, and why this particle releases that particle, and so on and so forth. But when you get to this black hole, this 3 solar mass Schwarzschild metric, 9 kilometers to the center, you're going to move actually through time. The spatial direction is gone. You can think of it as a light cone, real wide here, that comes into a single point, and that's the only direction we can go in. So you're going to move through time with the black hole. And these things frame drag too. Like the bigger they get, the volume goes up, but then the average density goes down. And the wavelengths, it's weird, because it's almost like a ball of jelly in some sense, because it gives off a very like wide wavelength of radiation when it's Hawking radiation, because it's all proportional to the mass. Like you've heard of Newton and how like how he his formula for gravity, proportional to the masses, inverse proportional to the distance between the square of the distance between the two. Okay, well, with waves, with smaller black holes, you get the very violent wavelengths like the gamma, the X-ray, okay, that rip matter apart and that ionize things even more, right? And then you've also got, as they get bigger, the wavelengths get softer and longer, all right? So something like a Sagittarius A in our Milky Way, that thing is a gentle giant, minus if it's not eating anything. Its Hawking radiation is something along the lines of between microwave and acoustic sound, somewhere in that range, I'm guessing. I don't know exactly mathematically, but the Alpha Bro blogosphere, the reason I bring that up and I talk about that is because, dude, if you want to walk into a room and like be like, I have the biggest beard and I drive a Lambo and like I'm rich and all, that's fine. You could do that. That might be annoying, but that's all it's ever gonna be. You know what I mean? Most people will just look past that. The problem is when you belittle and devalue and dominate and all this kind of stuff, that's why you keep ending up in fights. You know what I mean? And so anyway, that's why I just wanted to touch on that, because like I watch a lot of that. I watch Saintaholic in different places and like Bubba and like some of the good shows, and like I always drop a comment in there because I'm just like, dude, I don't want our kids and young people looking up to these guys. You know what I mean? Because these guys aren't going out there and grinding out a hard day, honestly, and coming home and being good to their family. These guys are advocating for like the subjugation and domination of women. You know what I mean? And that's just not any kind of cool, and it's not any kind of good. I don't know how they maintain the popularities they do on YouTube, but it's definitely not YouTube's fault. You know, what you people click is what you click. So if you click Liver King a million times, well, you know, whose fault is it? But in terms of science, yeah, really, these videos have to be short, so like I have to make it count. But when you collide matter really fast like that, with a lot of power and mass like that, you melt it, to put it simply. Okay, and your hadrons are going to get pulled apart, your proton and neutron, okay? You're going to get a quark gluon plasma, is what you're going to get, right? And then, as you know, if you heat that up, that can release photons. And then that light can remain trapped. So you can get these displacements where you have like Hilbert spaces that are filled with all kinds of light shining from different directions, hot plasma, things like that. Basically what I'm getting at is with a quasar, when the matter in the black hole starts to sink in so much that it goes to super Eddington levels, right? The displacements, the jets that you see that shoot out of it, that happens outside the event, not inside. So it's not like the inside is crushing the energy so bad and it's going to shoot out. These are just from the drawing effects of the motor outside the event. But anyway, I hope you liked today's video. Yeah, I mean, look, dude, if these guys want to do this shit and look this way, that's on them. You know what I mean? It's going to remain to be seen whether it was smart or not. But, like, if you rented your house and rented your car and you got a model girlfriend that does OnlyFans, who advocates for you, and you're trying to sell courses to guys and tell them, like, oh, go get rich. Look, if you don't have capital, you can't do shit anyway, right? So someone needs to level with people. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like anywhere in danger they're buying these guys courses like it's going out of style. But, like, if you don't want to get hoodwinked, I mean, why would you take advice on, like, selling homes from, like, a guy like that? Just because he says he works out all day long and he has millions of dollars. You know what I mean? We found out that King Azalea or whatever was, like, on the dole from his mom, and, like, the stuff he owns or says he owns isn't even his or whatever. So, I mean, look, I seen this coming a while ago when I started seeing this, like, get the Alpha Bros going, like, da-da-da. I saw it was harmless at first, but it turned into a big hoodwink of, like, you know, the joke is on you in the end.